Good morning, everybody. So it is Thursday. A little bit about class today. What I wrote right here will not split the class. So usually I make two groups, and Armando takes one group of people who haven't finished the assignment and he gets them caught up. And then I take everybody else who's finished the assignment. So Armando can't join us today. That's fine. We're not going to split the class. Everybody's going to spend the whole class with me. Sorry, hope I don't. I know you miss Armando, but you can handle a lot of me for one day. We'll do a listening exercise related to Gothic cathedrals in the chapter, and then we'll go over the new vocabulary from the reading that we did. Then we'll take our break, and then I'm going to introduce what Jefferson and I were just talking about, a podcast for. Whoops! Did anybody see my mistake? I made a mistake. There it is. So we'll introduce a podcast that we'll use next week, and it's detailing a really exciting story. And that's my background behind me. So it's a scandal, a corruption scandal. Well, not so much corruption. Let's just say a scam. People stealing money here in South Florida. And it's a very interesting story related to the topic of societies building great big things, architecture. So it can bring this old topic of ancient societies building great big buildings and how they lived to the present day, and we're going to look at some real estate in South Florida and how a lot of people use buildings to make a lot of money, but they got caught. They did it illegally, and that'll be fun. And we'll just look at the material. It's an article and a podcast, and what I'll do is I'll break down new vocabulary. So you're going to learn a lot of new words today. It's going to be a very you're going to have more English words in your head when you leave class today than when you woke up this morning. You're going to have so many new words. English words will be falling out of your ears, that you won't have any more space to put all these new words. So get ready. Here we go. All right. So to go over the assignment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, there it is. Instead of use my document camera to show you the page of the book on the table, what I did was I just took this picture from, I think Mabel put this in WhatsApp. Not Mabel, who was it? Somebody put this in WhatsApp last week. And I'm just going to put it up here, and I'll get everybody to take your time to discuss your answers, and I'll put everyone in a quick breakout room. Usually I split the class up, and I take one half and Armando takes the other half. I'll do the same thing, but I'll have you work on this on your own. Some of you have completed this assignment, others are still working on it, but in the next 20 minutes, everybody should have this done and be ready. So that's annoying. All right. I'm going to move the video panel up here. There we go. Now our face, I can see our faces. And this is what we are going to finish. So on page 93, what I have on the screen right here is page 93. We finished the reading on Gothic cathedrals in chapter 4. And here are the directions. All right. Do I have a volunteer reader to read the directions, what I just circled? Marie, would you like to read? And it's on page 93 in your books, page 93. So what is this first page asking you to do? Let's get a volunteer.
Main ideas.
Perfect. Yeah, go ahead, Jefferson. You can read it.
Reach each statement, decide if it is true or false. According to the reading, check the approximate box. If it is false, change to make it true. Discuss. Your answer with a partner.
Excellent. This is an exercise in what's called reading comprehension. Who could tell me what is reading comprehension? A skill for English 111. Well, you do a lot of in college.
When you read, you said what you understand about the text.
Exactly. So this is an exercise in processing what we read. So each question will have a statement, and you click true or false, and you're not just guessing what you think, you're processing what you learned from the reading that we went over last class on page 90 and 91. So that's reading comprehension. So question number 3. While a cathedral was being constructed, the local people often felt a sense of pride and community. It's not asking you to guess, like, oh, that's a nice building. Yeah, of course they must have. No. You want to go back into the reading and figure it out. Did the article say that anywhere? And you want to get together with the people in your breakout room and figure it out. Even if you already did this and turned it in. So for instance, Monica, Ilse, Mabel, you already did this. You might be thinking, why am I asked to do this again? I want you to be able to talk about it and explain your reasoning. For instance, if you chose true for number 5 or number 6 or number 7, explain to the other classmates why you said it was true. Point and back it up with the reading in the textbook. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to compare our answers, and then we'll come back together in the main session here and discuss them. Okay, is everybody ready? I'll make 2 breakout rooms. Here we go. And we're looking at this exercise on page 93. That's what was due today. The exercise on page 93. Compare your answers for the true and false. And no guessing. You want to back it up with what you read. Okay, you can join your breakout room right now. Okay, so anybody watching this recording, I'm really impressed with those breakout rooms. I didn't have to do a lot of work to motivate anybody to study. I think at the beginning of the semester, if I asked you all to go into breakout rooms to review something like this, you all would have kind of stared at each other and waited. And I didn't have to do anything. You all were fantastic. I'm really impressed, and it's just looking like everyone in this class right now is great. Has really improved their study skills. This looks like a community of scholars right here. It's fantastic. So it looked like a university peer review session going on. It was fantastic. So big thumbs up to everyone. All right, let's go over these true or false answers. And I'll choose pink. That'll be nice and bright. Okay. During the process of building cathedrals in Europe, was very complex. True or false?
Oh.
Absolutely true. Of course it's complex, but does the text say it's complex? It actually says it specifically in which paragraph?
The
Right
first
here.
I remember, I think. Let me check
Paragraph
the
3.
second.
Right here, it says the process was
Yeah.
enormously complex. So it's
Complex.
right there.
Yeah.
So right there in paragraph 3. All right. Who can give me the answer for number 2? During the 12th century, the entire population of Europe suffered from famine and disease. Yes or no? This is
True.
tricky.
Yes, it's tricky.
All right. Now tell us
It's
which.
false.
No, it's
Tell us
false.
which paragraph.
The first paragraph.
Okay, first paragraph. Some say true, some say false, because this says the entire population. What does that
And
mean?
it wasn't the whole
It's-
all population, all population, it wasn't like that.
Exactly. So
It's-
what about, let's say, well, let's take a look. Okay, Mabel,
First-
go to
Yeah, the paragraph, yeah,
paragraph 1, I think.
technology in the 20th to 17th century was rudimentary, famine and disease were rampant.
There you go. So the word rampant, does that mean entire? So entire means what?
all of them.
Entire
yeah.
means 100%.
Yeah,
So were 100% of people suffering from famine and disease,
False.
according to the text? It is false. So basically entire means 100%. So rampant means very common. Like we could say in 2022, COVID-19 is rampant. Does that mean that every single person has COVID right this moment?
No.
Exactly. So that's where the reading comprehend, we want to be careful. So good, I'm very good to go over. Number 3, does anybody want to read these? Any volunteers? I can read them, but doesn't matter.
Can I?
I'll go for it, Melanie.
While a cathedral was being constructed, the local people often felt a sense of pride and community. It's true.
True. Sounds correct. Let's double check. Can you back it up in paragraph 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5?
Number 5, the first
Yeah.
sentence.
Page 92, number 5. Tell us where.
A cathedral building project provide a potentially defining focus for collective identity among members of the community.
There you go. So we could equate a sense of pride with that phrase. So does pride mean the same thing as defining focus and collective identity? Yes, that's exactly what it means.
There's another two that say some took hundreds of years to build, imitating and bringing the completion a project of such scope and magnitude as the building of a Gothic cathedral obviously could not have occurred without having an enormous impact on the community that built it. Inevitably, a grand cathedral became
Hang on a second,
focus.
Melanie, what you just read, I think answers question number 4. What's your
Number
answer
4?
for question number 4? Yeah.
Okay.
Based on, I think you just read the answer to number 4.
I answered that one looking in paragraph 4, so I wasn't sure.
Well, here it is. The process of building cathedrals in Europe began over 1,000 years ago, but lasted only 400 years. You just read a paragraph relating to the longevity of the process. So imagine your grandfather starts something and then you're still building it. It's never
Yeah.
finished after like hundreds of years. Generations are still putting these things together. Does it say this in the text? Let's take a, Melanie just read, Gothic cathedrals took a very long time to complete. It could take a good half century or more to build such a structure. And then if everybody looks on the top of paragraph 4, some took hundreds of years to build, initiating and bringing a completion of a project such as the scope and magnitude. Okay, some took hundreds of years. A Gothic cathedral building project potentially defining focus, that's paragraph 5. Building cathedral entailed an ongoing, that's number 6. So number 4 really gives us the math, the numbers. What was everybody's answer to question number 4?
False.
True or false?
False.
True.
This is where we got to look at the language. The process of building cathedrals, plural, is that indicating, is that general or specific?
General.
Exactly. So it's general, which means what?
In all Europe began that. And it began in Paris.
Exactly. So this is absolutely true that cathedrals in Europe started to, be erected, to be built at around the same time. So the phenomenon of cathedral building happened at the same time.
No.
Well, it's around the same time. So here it is, 12th to 16th centuries, 6th to 10th centuries. Okay, so that would cover, about 1,000 years. So some are more than 1,000 years old. That is true.
It's true?
No.
This
it's true.
part, let's figure it out.
Yeah, that part is true, right? Over
The process
1,000 years.
began, past tense, began
Mhm.
over 1,000 years ago. So if I look at the year, one of the oldest cathedrals would be about this old, 600
Mhm.
AD. Yes, that's cathedrals plural.
Mhm.
Not each and every cathedral. There's cathedrals in America that are only like 100 years or 200 years old.
Mhm.
Some cathedrals in Spain are like 300 years old, but it's not saying every single cathedral, it's general,
Mhm.
meaning around about. So let's look at it again. Mabel, can you read this sentence for us and then tell if it's true or false?
Oh. The process of building cathedrals in Europe began over 1,000 years ago, but lasts only 400 years. For
Okay.
me, it's false because the process began in Paris and continued for the next 400 years throughout Europe.
Yeah, but the
Mhm.
teacher says in plural, not only cathedrals, the all cathedrals. It's more specific, the now.
And I don't know, it just said, here says, but last. For me, it doesn't last for 100 years. It took 400 years to go draw out all Europe. That's what that's my interpretation from the text.
Let's go back to, it says it's in number 4. Gothic cathedrals took a very long time to complete. It could take a good half century or more to build such a structure. Some,
Mm-hmm.
that's general. Like a few would take forever. Some took hundreds. So
I think it's true.
yeah, it's so vague and general. It's so not specific. It's true. It does cover a wide range. It's true. It's because it's not being a very specific time frame, as some cathedrals are still under construction.
But if it's
mhm.
not specific, it's false.
Well, let's take a look.
I think
The
it's
process of
not-
building cathedrals. It's not saying a cathedral. It's cathedrals. Give us your reasoning, Andre.
It's not specific. It's not specific.
Yeah,
You
specific
can't,
is in plural.
no, you can't to say, no, you can't to
It's
say,
cathedrals, X.
you can't to
It's in
say
plural.
Right,
when,
plural. She's
you
right.
can't,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not only one cathedral, it's more than one.
But keep going, Andre.
I think it's false, but you can to say
Look.
what time exactly start. Okay,
Look.
it's the November 3
Mhm.
in the year I don't know, 100 AD. It's no exactly.
How
It's
about
not just
this?
one.
I
It's
think
many, but you can to find in the text what is the date exactly.
no, I
For
think
this reason,
the 1,000 years means the time, like the time ago that the cathedral start being built, not like
That is correct.
the way they started come up with the projects of the cathedral, not when they exactly started building them. So you could have a cathedral that lasted 100 years to make, or even 400 years to make. I think the 1,000 years it means when the projects of the cathedral start coming up, you know, when they started
what
to,
Melanie's saying is correct.
Yeah,
It's a really big span of time around, you know, this many centuries. So if you starting in the 6th century all the way to the 12th, and then even into the 15th century, it's around that period cathedrals are starting to grow up. That's true. But there is a good point that Andre is making, is saying, but lasted only 400 years. You could interpret that to say each and every cathedral stops after 400 years. That's why it's confusing. But the statement is in fact general. So what I'm going to write here is, there's no score on this. This isn't like it's not like a placement test. What I'd like is, what I think is more important is the process, the reasoning, the argument that you're having with each other is much more important, because that's where you're able to use your English more. I'm just going to put here, give your reasoning for this question. So whatever your answer is, if you choose true or false, write a little sentence in your book below and give your reasoning. So Andre, go ahead, and if you make your argument, if you choose false, write your reasoning why you say it's false. If you choose true, write your reasoning why you say it's true. And I want to see your the reasoning for what you argue on the page, because I think that's more fun. Go ahead, Mabel.
Yeah, that's me, that my doubt, but last only 400 years. So for me, last is like only took 400 years to make it. That's it. And in the test, we can find the second paragraph. The second sentence, if continue for the next 400 years, draw out Europe. So
Yes.
it doesn't last 400 years.
That's
it
correct.
Took more.
That's correct.
Because draw out all Europe.
That's lasted only 400 years. So let's take a look at what Mabel pointed out, paragraph 2. She's giving us evidence. The movement I call Gothic, where is that? Which line on page? Paragraph 2, you said.
It continued for the next 400 years, draw out Europe. So for me, it doesn't last only 400 years. 400 years to go draw out Europe.
Where is that? I'm looking. You said paragraph 4. I'm sorry, paragraph 4.
No, paragraph 2, second sentence.
Okay, I see it. It continued for the next 400 years throughout Europe. Okay. It began in the first half of the 12th century. Okay, the movement I call the Gothic enterprise, but that's a style of cathedral. Take a look at the beginning of the sentence. The author is not talking about all cathedrals. He's talking about a particular style. Remember, the beginning of the chapter, and there's different styles. He's only talking about the style on the right.
Yeah, but for me, it's saying that it start all this process of cathedrals in this place in Paris, and then go
No,
throughout Europe. No,
The first cathedrals did not start in Paris. The Gothic cathedrals started in Paris.
yeah,
That's
the
look at the
Gothic
top.
cathedrals. Yeah,
But we're not but this
I-
question is not that focused. It's just cathedrals in general. And a cathedral at this time
okay.
was like Roman Catholic Church. That's the bishop's house. For anybody who's familiar with the Catholic hierarchy, you have a bishop, and then you have below him, you know, priests, and then there's a cardinal. It was called Europe at the time was called a theocracy. Theocracy. Anybody familiar with this root word theos? It's a Greek word for God. Theocracy. The power in government was dictated by the church. There was no separation. What we have in the United States is a separation of church and state. So in our First Amendment, you're guaranteed freedom of religion, which means that theoretically, religion should not influence politics, but of course it does. But in this time and this place, the power, the people making the laws, the people taking your tax money and telling you what to do, that was the church and the king, and they were all one and the same. So these cathedrals, they were the homes of the bishops, the cardinals, the really powerful people in Europe. And the Pope was at the very top in Rome, in the Vatican. So a cathedral was like the home of the most powerful person, and that's where the law was coming from. And this sentence, it's not talking about all cathedrals, it's talking about Gothic. And that's only a particular style that was really starting in Paris. But you're right about the generalization. It's super general. So because this, we could go forever about question number 4. What I think is more fun is just give your reasoning. If you argue true, write a little sentence here and say why you think it's true. If you argue false, write a little sentence and say why it's false.
It's false.
Perfect. Perfect. Oh, I love it. So we could argue about this one all day. So in your textbook, just write a sentence why you think it's true or why you think it's false.
Yes, I know why it's false.
Okay, great. Good job, Marie. Good job, Marie. And I bet you, and Marie's going to say it's false because I said so. Okay. Right. All right. Good. So let's take a break, everybody. Let's take a break, and then we'll come back. And Jefferson, when we come back, I'm going to introduce this story behind me.
Okay.
So Jefferson, this will be your chance to explain the story to everybody. Jefferson's been waiting so patiently. All right.
Yeah, our Venezuelan corruption.
Yes. Well, it was actually not so much. Well, the corruption. It was like, you could call it revenge for corruption. The criminals were actually the people taking money from corrupt officials. Here we go. I'm going to go to the stopwatch and we'll take our break. There we go. Let's take a break. All right, everybody, grab a cup of coffee. We'll have some fun when we come back. All right, everybody, we are back. We are back. Okay. So we finished, what was that? So yes, number 1, true. Number 2, false. Number 3, true. Number 4, we could debate forever. Just give us your reasoning. We'll finish this quickly. Who wants to give us their answer for number 5? So violence and instability to 12th to 16th centuries. Yes or
Teacher, I
no?
have,
Doing
this is false. I have one example.
Okay, give it to us, Andre.
Okay, I can to talk about the cathedral. The answer said just, but
We're moving on to 5. We're moving on to 5.
5
Yeah.
is false. The 4 is false. I have one example.
We're done with 4. We got
Okay.
after
Okay.
class, talk to each other.
Okay.
You go out for a couple of drinks tonight and talk about this. So anybody, so yeah, meet Andre after class. You can talk about question number 4 all night long. We got to move on. Who wants to give their answer for number 5?
me.
It's true.
Marie.
Yeah, during the 12th to the
16th
7th
century. Yep.
centuries, life was generally violent and unstable. That's true.
That is very true. If anybody wants to look up how violent, look up this period. It lasted from the 11th to 16th century. Well, not that long. Yes, that long. Crusades. Look up the Crusades and you'll see just how violent it was. Okay. Number 6. Who wants to give their answer to number 6? For number 6. Monica, Melanie, Cleomaine.
The process of building cathedrals in Europe involved a large number of workers. Is true.
Yes. Let's do number 7.
And I,
Sure.
the local people were unhappy that constructing the cathedrals took such a long time. It's false.
Yeah, I don't remember reading that anywhere. Does anybody recall anything in that? Any?
The people is
mention?
happy.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no way to, unless you have an account of somebody writing down how miserable they were. But at this point, it's hard to find that because before, a little bit about the people who are building these cathedrals, most of the population would have been illiterate before the Protestant Reformation. So if anybody's you wants to look up the Protestant Reformation.
Yes.
Yeah, so look up the Protestant.
Yeah.
Martin Luther in Germany.
They were happy. I can prove that.
Okay.
Yes.
If you look,
in the paragraph 6.
6, okay.
Building a cathedral entails an ongoing difficulty yet energizing form of collective enterprise in which people could take enormous pride and around which they could rally a community.
Good point, Marie. Yes, this
One
indicates.
imagines that those who built Gothic cathedrals would be pleased to know that future generations who gaze upon them do so with wonder, asking how human beings could possibly have accomplished what they had done.
Good point, Marie. So the very last paragraph argues that the people who built these things felt this enormous sense of pride, which would be related to happiness So yes, there's nothing in the writing indicating unhappiness, although we don't really know their working conditions and that sort of thing. And let's take a look at number 8. Who can give us the answer for number 8?
It's true.
Give us your reason why, Melanie.
False.
Paragraph 2. The average life expectancy for those fortunate enough to survive to the age of 25 was only survive to the age of 20 was only 25 to 30 years more.
All right, so this says most people did not live to be more than 25 to 30 years old.
It's false, it's false.
And
My bad.
no, good points. Yeah, this is why it's good to go over this stuff. So it is false. Okay. Number 9. Who wants to take number 9?
Me.
Go for it.
Large window ballet in the light were an important part of the Gori Cachiro's design is true.
That is very true. Yes, very true. There's a great big Gothic cathedral that burned down in Paris and is now under reconstruction. Who knows what it's called?
Notre Dame.
That's the one. That's the one. And Marie, you might be familiar with this. Just about everywhere that the French colonized, if you look around the world, wherever the French would take territory, if you go to Vietnam, if you go across the Caribbean, Africa, you will find copycat buildings of Notre Dame with the Notre Dame Cathedral. It's got 2 towers, kind of like this, really ornate, sculptures around it. That's what's features of Gothic.
Vault.
Yeah, and then in the middle, it'll have a huge stained glass window.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's like Notre Dame, that's the one in Paris. Everywhere the French colonized, they would build a copycat version of that same church as kind of like they're marking their territory.
Mm-hmm.
Is there one like that in Port-au-Prince?
Oh yeah, there's so much in Haiti.
They just got, yeah.
Everywhere in Haiti.
That's the French call. It's like the French calling card.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyway, so good work, everybody. Now we're gonna do a listening exercise. Well, actually, here's a listening exercise, and then we're gonna get to the fun stuff that Jefferson is waiting for. You know what? This is. Yeah, we got time. We'll do this listening exercise, and then we'll get to the story. Then we'll go to South Florida. All right. I'm going to ask for 3 volunteers. First question right here. What were some of the purposes of stained glass windows? Who wants to take the question? The answers are in the video.
Can I?
Yes. Is that Mabel?
No, Melanie.
Melanie. And then number 2. Why are so many cathedrals unfinished? Who wants that question? You want to take it, Camilla? Or Nerexi? Or okay, Camilla's saying yes with her head. Okay. Camilla, how did the Renaissance change architecture? Who wants to take that one? Ilse, Mariana, Jefferson, Cleo May. I'm just calling out random names. Who wants to take this one?
Me.
Mariana, you got it. Okay, here we go.
Infinity made imaginable is how philosopher Samuel Taylor Coleridge described Gothic architecture. Stand inside a cathedral from this period and you'll understand what he meant. The walls extend almost infinitely high above, as if climbing to heaven. It was the powerful state of France that started the transition from Romanesque, a grounded, solid architectural style characterized by thick walls and round arches, to the soaring new heights of the Gothic style in the early 12th century. Innovations such as the ribbed vault and flying buttress created a lacy, almost ethereal quality to the new cathedrals, which boasted high walls, pointed arches reaching to the sky, and windows bathing interiors with heavenly colored light. The stained glass not only contributed to the holy atmosphere, but also illustrated biblical stories for the illiterate masses. The Gothic style evolved over the next 400 years, but one of its drawbacks was the immense cost. Economic downturns led to many unfinished cathedrals. Germany's Cologne Cathedral being a prime example. Begun in 1248, it took more than 600 years to complete. With the dawn of the 16th century, architecture came under the influence of the Renaissance, as Europe entered a new age of humanism and departed from the focus on God and the afterlife. So it was that along with a change in emphasis from the heavenly to the temporal, architecture too changed forever. The Gothic cathedrals of Europe.
Okay, so number one, what were some of the purposes of stained glass windows? Melanie.
To bring light into the cathedral, like
Yes,
like heavenly lights.
exactly. Now this is kind of a subtext.
And
When-
also the
Mhm.
and also the window illustrate biblical stories.
Exactly. A lot of Gothic cathedrals the windows are telling stories. It's animated picture. I mean, not animated, I'm sorry. They'll take one window will have a particular story from the Bible. One of the reasons for that is because a lot of people prior to the Protestant Reformation could not read. And it was, so the lack of literacy, this was kind of an incentive for an illiterate. If 100 people come to church and they can't read, you're not going to just hand a bunch of Bibles to them and say, read with me. The priest is just going to tell the story and say, believe what I say, and nobody's going to fact check it the way we are fact checking what we're reading. So much of this is really part of the spin of the entire religion. Camilla, why are so many cathedrals unfinished?
Teacher, because it's the high economic cost and a lot of time for finish.
Good job. Let's check back with last week. What's a giant building that we learned about in Caracas that's unfinished?
The Torre de David.
Yes, good job, Camilla. So yeah, very similar story. So all around the world, when you see great big buildings, they're getting bigger and then they just stop. And it's like a half finished whatever. That usually it tells a story about the economic situation in that country. So economic downturns led to many unfinished cathedrals. Great job. Okay, and Mariana, how did the Renaissance change architecture?
Because it departed from the focus on God.
Exactly. So if anybody's familiar with the the European Renaissance, starting in Florence. The southern, there you have the Southern Renaissance in Florence, you have Northern Renaissance in Germany. So around the 15th century, people are building new buildings, not so much to tell story, not so much to enforce a theocracy, the religious law, but people are building new buildings just for the sake of design. Kind of like the movement of modern art. So there it is right here.
Of the Renaissance, as Europe entered a new age of humanism and departed from the focus on God and the afterlife.
So the Renaissance, a new influence of humanism, people just designing what they want to design. And, you know, people who had the money to finance new projects, you know, they wanted their homes to look different and not necessarily reflect some religious influence. So that's the Renaissance. Okay, good work, everybody. Let's get into corruption, everyone's favorite topic. Are you ready, Jefferson?
No, I'm not.
Okay, ready or not? Here we go. Google, everybody, quickly Google these two names and tell me why these people are famous. Carlos Castañeda and Hennessy's, how do I say this? Martusiello. Yeah, Hennessy's Martusiello.
They're from Venezuela.
There we go. That's a good start. Everybody, give everybody a minute to Google this, and you can see there's a case.
There's a couple.
Yeah, it's a case right here. All right, everybody, Google these two names and tell us what you find. We'll take a few minutes, give everybody a chance to Google it. This collage here I got from the Wall Street Journal. So this is not mine, it belongs to WSJ.
He was an author.
Teacher,
Yes.
I have to go. I have to go because
No problem.
job, my is passed away.
Okay, no problem, Cleomaine. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Did he say his grandma passed away?
Say it again, Melanie?
Sorry, that was me.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
I don't know if he says that his grandma passed away. He said that?
Who said what?
Cleoman?
Castañeda or Martusiello?
It's multimedia. It's read people. I don't know.
Never mind.
Okay. Well, these two people are quite famous right now. Tell us what you see on your phones when you Google these names.
Carlos Castañeda is American writer.
Oh, that's a different guy, different Castañeda.
Ah, okay.
Did you Google the names today together? Google the names together.
He's in federal prison for something left.
That's the guy. That's the right. Yes, that's the Castañeda I was talking about, not the writer. So there we go. There's a famous frame of reference here. So yes, he's in federal prison. And here is the.
It's a still identity. It's a still identity creating the using fake passport.
There you go. ID theft. The story is getting interesting now.
Oh
Let's get some more details. And we see maps across Florida.
South Florida.
What's that? What's that? What's that?
In South Florida, Naples.
Yeah, different neighborhoods in South Florida. What is going on here? Very exciting.
A couple use the empty mansions of top Venezuelans.
Exactly. So empty mansions. This is where the architecture comes in. Empty mansions.
Is you the fake passport for apply the mortgage?
Fake passports. Give me some more information. This is good because what we're doing is we're building like a word cloud here.
Here apply for mortgage for is a lot of houses.
Fake passports, good. You know what we'll do right here. So let's identify this. ID theft. What is ID theft? Let's identify that phrase. This is where I said today would be very vocabulary centered. What is ID theft?
When you stolen the identity?
ID theft.
Sold other people's identity.
Yeah, stealing someone's identity. How would you do it?
Scamming people.
It's pretending you're somebody else. Pretending you're somebody else. Opening a credit card with somebody's social security number. That is ID theft. Empty mansions. What does that mean? What's a mansion? Look behind me.
A big house, huge house.
Yeah, a mansion that's like a modern day castle. Huge, 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 huge house. Huge house for the wealthy. Fake passports. So this involves fake passports and empty mansions and ID theft. That's
he buy luxury cars.
Luxury cars.
Watches.
Well, I don't think there was any buying happening. There were luxury cars. We're going to hear about a few Ferraris, but there was no buying.
They use the stolen money to buy luxury cars.
Oh, okay. In that case,
what
maybe
is stolen money? Why?
Let's take a look. This is where it's going to get interesting. So on Google Classroom, why this what's called chunking, giving you some scaffolding, ways to take. If you look at the story all together, it's going to be intimidating. There's too many new words. But I wrote right here, in relation to the topic of architecture, in chapter 4, here's an article and a podcast we'll use for discussion next week. There'll be a lot of challenging vocabulary that we will break down in class together. And that's what we're doing right now. Take time to look and listen to the material to learn new words and understand the story. So here is some new vocabulary that I want everybody to take some time to understand. All right. Okay. And this is being recorded. We're going to go over this again next week. And if you want to write it down or screenshot this, that's no problem. Okay. Everybody follow me with the pronunciation of these new words. Indicted. Indicted.
Indicted.
Everybody's tired. Nobody wants to talk anymore. Indicted. Pleaded. Actually, everybody's muted. So this is a pronunciation exercise. Try to unmute yourself, please. Pleaded.
Pleaded.
Repítate, por favor. Pleaded.
Pleaded.
Good. Good job.
Pleaded.
Okay. Mortgage.
Mortgage.
Victim.
Victim.
Sanctions.
Sanction.
You can repeat this. What? Sanction?
Sanctions. Sanctions.
Sanction.
Recruit.
Recruit.
Inspection.
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 All right, now let's take a look. Who can identify these new words? We know mortgage. Let's start right here. What is a mortgage? A loan for a
house.
A house, right? In English, we have a specific word for that type of loan. It's called a mortgage. What is a victim?
Something's innocent. The people's innocent. No.
Not exactly. Not necessarily. The victim is a person who harm was done to them.
Yeah.
So we're looking at theft, ID theft. The victim is the person whose ID was stolen.
Okay.
The person who lost, who was harmed.
Yeah,
Pleaded.
You can plead like be a victim or.
Well, in the legal sense, you can plead guilty, you can plead innocent.
Innocence.
Right, so this is in this context of the story, you could you have defendants charged with a crime. How did they plead? And in the past tense, pleaded. And another legal word, indicted.
Indicted.
Who knows what that one is? Indicted. To be indicted is to be officially charged in court. When you're arrested, you will be indicted. You can be indicted. So who knows this word? Sanctions.
To be indicted is a sanction.
Nope.
Oh.
This is between one country and another country.
Okay. But for example, embargo, like.
Yes, a sanction is an embargo. Very good. That's a synonym. So what is an embargo? Tell us, Marie.
Because we are victim often of embargo.
Well, what is it? Because explain what it is.
Between a country to another one. For example, if the country used to have a partnership to send you, like to buy you gun or food or like accessory for health, they can discontinue it.
Yes, it's when one country refuses to do business with another country.
Yeah.
Refuses, an embargo or a sanction means when the one country will issue a sanction, meaning will not trade with another. Recruit.
You could, like in for a war, they can recruit more soldiers.
Recruit is to hire. To hire someone for a job. And inspection.
Inspection for cars every 3 months or.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. So we're just going to stop right here with the vocab, and I'm going to show you the first half of the podcast. It's very, very exciting. All right, here we go. Like I said, you'd have English words coming out of your ears by the end of today, but you're going to love it. So here's the story. It's a great story. All right, I'm going to make this nice and big. This is on Google Classroom. I recommend if you're Norexi. Was Norexi still here? Oh, she had to go. Okay, anybody who's exercising, listen to this while you exercise. It's a great way to start, training your brain to listen to a really cool story. All right, here it is. How a Miami couple used empty mansions to pocket millions. Now, what I recommend when you listen, follow the transcript. So I will play the podcast, but I will also, like, I think I've done this in one other lesson, I will follow the transcript live on the screen for everybody to follow. And I'll stop it about 4 minutes in, and I'll ask everybody to explain. Here we go.
In June 2019, a woman with a Venezuelan passport walked into a lawyer's office in Boca Raton, Florida. Here's our colleague Conrad Poutier.
So this woman, according to the passports, is married to this former Venezuelan state oil executive who's been accused of all sorts of corruption and taking bribes and was indicted in the US and actually pleaded guilty.
But the woman's passport was fake. She was posing as the former oil executive's wife.
This Venezuelan former executive owns a luxury apartment in one of the most exclusive apartment buildings in the Miami area. And she's here at this lawyer's office to take out a $3.5 million mortgage.
Like, I own the property, give me a loan here.
Yeah. She just walks in, says, here's my passports. I own this apartment. My name's on the deed. Then they sit down, go over the document, sign everything.
And less than an hour later,
this woman walks out $3.5 million richer.
She got the loan. And it was just the beginning of a year-long crime spree, totaling nearly $10 million.
What happened? How did it happen? Take your time. Talk to each other. We'll wrap up class in the next 6 to 8 minutes. I'm going to end class just about a few minutes earlier today. Talk to each other. What happened? How did this woman walk into an office and walk out with $10 million? Talk to each other.
I think she was scammed.
She was who is she?
Scam is in the past. Scam is scammed.
Scammed. Okay.
Scammed.
Who's
Okay.
Jefferson, this is your time to shine. You wanted to tell everybody the story at the beginning of class. This is your moment. Where are you, Jefferson? Okay, everybody, take a moment, try to figure out the story. Who can tell the story? Using the vocabulary words we just went over. Talk to each other. What happened? Who is scamming who?
Teacher is a woman to supplant a wife of the very important man in Venezuela. She go to the lawyer office with a passport, and in that passport she is a wife of that rich man, but the passport was false, so she supplanted the identity, and she pretend to be the man wife, and she asked for a loan, and she got it.
Perfect.
For 3.5 million.
Absolutely perfect, Erica. Camilla, what did Erica just say?
I agree with Erica. I listed
Exactly. I'm going to try to see who understands what Erica just said. Jefferson, where'd you go? You had a lot to say at the beginning of class about the story. This is the complicated story. We're putting together these new words. Mabel, what's Erica talking about?
She's talking about a woman who went to a lawyer's office in Florida with a fake passport, pretending being a wife of an important person in Venezuela, and
Exactly.
she won a loan of millions mortgage, and she want to she said that the apartment is her property, and she left with $3.5 million.
Exactly. So right here, just what I underlined, this woman, according to the passports, that means the passport says she's somebody, is married to who?
Former Venezuelan executive.
Who's been accused of all sorts of corruption and taking bribes, and was indicted in the US and actually pleaded guilty. But that's not who she really is. So let's say, Erica, you are a corrupt oil executive, and you are indicted. What's the word indicted? Who knows what does the word mean? We just went over that word. Charged in court. So you've been charged in court, and you pled guilty to corruption and taking bribes. Now, I have a passport that says I am your wife, and I walk into a lawyer's office and I say, yes, I'm Erica's wife. I would like a loan for $3.5 million. And the lawyer says, sure, here you go. And I walk out with a check for $3.5 million. The end.
Yeah.
How does that happen? It says this woman's passport was fake. She was posing as the oil executive's wife. How does that happen so easily? Let's talk. Pretty clever, right?
Yes.
Walk in, walk out with a check for $3.5 million.
Yeah, no, only the passport was fake. He is a corrupt man in Venezuela. He accept like a dirty money, and he say that he's guilty. He say that in the use authority, and even that they give her a loan.
Now, this might answer one of the questions. What's the title of the story? How a Miami couple used empty mansions to pocket millions. Why might there be all these empty mansions in South Florida? Why are they empty?
Like a trash?
Well, think about it. If Erica has already pled guilty to taking all this to stealing all this money in Venezuela and taking all these bribes, and then moving that money into America, is she living happily in the mansion? Is she, playing her Xbox and enjoying her life, or is she probably somewhere else?
So, teacher, he's in the prison. I don't know.
Exactly.
That's why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's this guy who took all this money in Venezuela, invested it in mansions in Florida, and then is spending time in prison. And the mansion is sitting there empty. And then let's say it's me, I just get a fake passport and I say, I'm Erica's wife, give me money. And the bank or whoever says, okay, here, see you next time, bye-bye. So we're going to look at this story in detail. How is it so easy for somebody to pretend to be somebody else? Just a fake passport? I'm going to play the next part of the story. So this woman walks out $3.5 million richer. Here's the next part of the story.
Their victims, they own these incredibly valuable homes and cars in Miami, but they can't physically be in Miami for various reasons. So these people can't actually go to their houses, and they have no idea in many cases what's going on at these properties. And these people basically decided, wow, those are the perfect targets for us.
Welcome to The Journal, our show about money, business, and power. I'm Ryan Knudsen. It's Wednesday, October 19th. Coming up on the show, how a Miami couple stole millions of dollars using Florida's empty mansions and penthouses, and how they eventually got caught.
$90 million developers, the world's most exciting startups, and 90% of Fortune 100
characters in this story are
To piece together this story, Conrad and our colleague Will Parker spent months reporting. They combed through hundreds of court documents, police reports, and emails, and interviewed dozens of people familiar with the case.
So the main characters in this story are a young couple, Genesis Martusiello, who's currently 29 years old, and her then boyfriend, Carlos Castañeda, who's now 35. They're both from Venezuela.
Castañeda came to the U.S. in 2014. Genesis Martusiello arrived a couple years later.
And they both fled a country that was in a severe economic crisis, which many in the country and abroad blamed in part on the country's authoritarian government and the policies it pursued. And so this crisis led to this mass exodus. Genesis and Carlos were part of that wave. They both ended up in Florida, in a country that was far wealthier than anything they'd ever known, hoping for a better life.
Tell me about this couple. Who are they and how did they meet?
We don't know a lot about Carlos. He wouldn't respond to us. He wouldn't talk to us. Genesis, she's also from modest means. She grew up in a middle-class family in the city of Barquisimeto in northwest Venezuela. She moves to South Florida in 2016. She does all sorts of odd jobs in Florida to make ends meet. She works as a model at car shows. She works as an Uber and Lyft driver for a while. She works in bars as a bartender. And so at one of those shifts at a bar, she meets Castañeda. And they fall in love and pretty quickly move in together. And after they move in together, Carlos approaches her with this idea.
The idea was to steal from rich Venezuelans who owned property in Florida. And pivotal to this scheme was a decision the Trump administration made in 2019.
Today we are announcing.
So this is where the word sanction is going to come in. So we'll stop the class right here and we'll pick it up on Tuesday. So you've got an article and a podcast to listen to. All right. And you want to be able to explain the story. Use the new vocabulary and avoid using general language. Be very specific when you're putting the story together. So I'll give you a few of the questions that I'll ask you when I put you in groups. Here we go. So 5 questions I'm going to ask. I'll put everyone into small groups. Why were so many of the mansions empty? Who did Carlos and Hennessy's recruit for the operation? How did Carlos and Hennessy's complete the property inspections? Why, whoops. Sorry. What is unique about Florida real estate, which allowed Carlos and Hennessy's to go through with their plan? What happened when a housekeeper arrived at the property? So that's what you want to listen for, and that's what we're going to do next week. It'll be fun. Listen on your own, practice, learn the story, learn the new vocab words, and you'll get more next week. Enjoy. Ashley will have fun with you tomorrow. Okay. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.